UFC 311 alone produced 2 fights better than Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. What the consensus fight of the year for a lot of people last year. For some weird reason, I see a lot of people saying that this is the fight of the year. Dana White himself came out and said this is the fight of the year last year, and if there's a fight better than this, there must be a hell of a fight somewhere. Well, UFC 311 might be the greatest pay-per-view of all time because there's already produced 2 fights better than this fight over here. If you go back and recall your memories and unlock the door that is nostalgia, you'll remember that Max Holloway, for the most part, outside of one spinning back kick to Justin Gaethje's nose, which completely broke it, just struck from a distance at Justin Gaethje. There was no actual threat of a finish for the majority of that fight. In the first round, Justin Gaethje had his nose broken, and for the entirety of that fight, he did not get anything really going before Max Holloway just completely hindered his progress. Now, when you look back to this fight, you might be remembering the finish. You know, that was one of the craziest things you've ever seen in your life. The hype around it was insane. The crowd was going crazy. Dana White properly hyped it up, and so did the fans. But what preceded it was not the greatest fight you've ever seen in your entire life, and definitely not the fight of the year for last year. In my opinion, it's clearly Islam versus Poirier, far more dramatic. But for a lot of people, this is the runaway fight of the year just because they just listen and suck off to anything that Dana White has to tell them. That's it. This wasn't even the best fight of UFC 300. It wasn't even the second best fight of UFC 300. How about you take that to the bank, alright? I think Jiri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic was better, and I also think Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan was also a better fight. It was far more dramatic, and keep in mind, the benefit of a Justin Gaethje fight is knowing that he can KO someone at any time. After his nose broke, he didn't have any threat. There was no crazy combination, no crazy exchange where you're thinking to yourself, oh my god, Justin Gaethje, come on Max, be safe here, move your head, jab and weave, I don't know, duck and weave, whatever, right? I don't think that ever happened in the entire fight. Justin Gaethje, known for his wild brawls. This wasn't even really a wild brawl. It was like a technical fight. It was a fun fight, right? Hey man, it was a fun fight. I'm not saying it was like this trash fight that shouldn't get any recognition whatsoever. Performance of the night, for sure, should go to Max Holloway. That KO is one of the all-time great KOs of all time. But again, we're acting like this was like against Khabib, where Max Holloway just losing every single round, points to the ground and KOs Khabib, and all of a sudden with this incredible moment, it's like, oh my god, what is happening? We're acting like this is like Chael Sonnen, out of nowhere, completely dominating Anderson Silva until the 5th round, where Anderson Silva just pulls off a triangle choke and submits him. That one fight of the year, and it's deservedly so. It was extremely exciting. It could have gone either way, and the crowd was just going crazy for it, as well as the viewers at home, because of just the moment and who it was. This is Justin Gaethje, a good fighter, a great fighter actually, and Max Holloway, another amazing fighter, all-time, top 10 arguably. But what happened? We were promised this extreme like BMF fight, and then all of a sudden we get in there, Justin Gaethje breaks his nose, and all of a sudden it's turning into a point fight. For the most part, until the last, 10-15 seconds? That's what it was, and then in the last 30 seconds, Justin Gaethje goes for like a rolling thunder, honestly. That was the extent of this fight's incredible entertainment. When I was watching this I'll give you a personal experience of this fight. I was watching this fight, I was trying to get hyped for this. I mean, we had a big group for this fight. We had like 15 people in the room watching it, me and my friends. For the most part, everyone was sitting on their hands. They're just like, clap, clap, clap. Oh, wow, it's really impressive that Max Holloway can do this to Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje is a really tough opponent for most people, but Max Holloway is making him look easy for the most part. That's what they were saying. They were sitting on their hand. I was the only one that was like yelling out, Jerome, because he was just piecing up Justin Gaethje, and I did think he was going to win, and I had money on him, and I watched Megu at the time, who said Jerome a lot, and I was like thinking, oh my god, that's funny. His name's actually Jerome. Idiotic mentality. But anyway, this was considered the fight of the year, and I'm just thinking, are Jamahal Hill versus Jiri Prochazka and Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov going to get the same amount of respect and hype this fight got? Probably not. Dana White didn't even hype up either of those fights. Let's be honest here. Both those fights is a fight of the night bonus. I don't care if they only do one fight. They were both of that caliber. If they are, honestly, I find it really hard to believe that we will see 10 fights this year better than those 2 fights. It's very hard for me to believe, and if that does happen, we might be seeing the greatest year of mixed martial arts ever. I mean, can you imagine that 10 fights better than those 2? I mean, they're both arguably fight of the year contenders already. Anyway, let's get straight into those other fights. This fight, for the most part, jab session. Max Holloway dominated, so there was no excitement coming from that aspect of it just being a close fight here and there, who can win. There was no real KO finish because Justin Gaethje had just completely taken himself out of there. Max Holloway has some power. I mean, listen, he's dropped people before. I'm not going to act like Max Holloway is just a complete loser who has no power in his hands whatsoever. But for this fight, he was particularly point fighting, and it wasn't like this amazing performance that he had against someone like Calvin Kattar. It wasn't anything like that, or Brian Ortega. It was more methodical, more slow. It wasn't like, oh my god, the strikes record is being broken on Justin Gaethje's face. It wasn't anything like that. Until the end, where it had one of the all-time great moments, and last year's moment of the year, in my opinion. Let's move on to something that blows this out the water. The complete opposite of what that was. This was a chaotic fight. A chaotic fight, I tell ya. I tell ya. In the first round, Jamahal Hill gets dropped. And not only does he get dropped, he scrambles, Prochazka goes for the finish, he gets back on his feet, they trade some more on the feet. Now, on the feet, every single strike was far more dangerous. We know who these two guys are. They're two of the heavier weight divisions. We know both of them possess power, both of them are known for being finishers. And every single second, everything that these guys did, we were just on the edge of our seats. We saw Jiri Prochazka improve his head movement. We saw Jamahal Hill, turns out he's a great clinch fighter. These guys completely went to war, traded on the feet like nothing else. Neither of them shot a takedown. I'm not saying Max or Gaethje did, but I'm just saying this was what was happening in this fight. Oh, I just want to add one more thing. Max Holloway did get dropped somewhat in the Gaethje fight, so that was kind of exciting. It was a great fight, but it wasn't as good as these two. It wasn't a fight of the year contender, you know what I mean? Jiri Prochazka here drops Jamahal Hill in the first round, like I said before, and comfortably wins the first round, but there's still that danger. Jamahal Hill can at any moment clip you, and Jiri Prochazka is going wild on the feet. Not wild on the feet, but they're getting into some really tight exchanges with a lot of jabs are landing, a lot of right hands are landing to the forehead of these guys. I mean, you know what I mean? And then the second round comes around, and all of a sudden, Jamahal Hill starts going to the body. Body shot, body shot, body shot. And all of a sudden, Jiri Prochazka is looking, it's a bit more 50-50. And then Jiri accidentally gets his thumb over like the eyelid of Jamahal Hill. Gets a little bit of a break. We come back, and then all of a sudden, next thing we know, Jamahal Hill has his entire hand inside the eyeball of Jiri Prochazka. And then Jiri Prochazka is like, oh my god, I can't see. Then the doctor's coming in, we're like, oh my god, there's no way this fight stops here. The doctor says, no, I won't screw you over like that. And lets them fight again. Amazing. Then all of a sudden, right afterwards, Jamahal Hill starts somewhat piecing up Jiri Prochazka, in all honesty. He was tagging him over and over and over again. Tagging him consistently. And at any moment, you know Jiri Prochazka can go out. You know Jamahal Hill can go out at any moment. There's that threat of a finish. There's a wild exchange on the field. Sometimes Jiri Prochazka even for a flying knee at one point landing to the chest of Jamahal Hill. Some wild exchanges at some points. Jiri Prochazka spinning. Going for a head kick, going for a kick, then spinning into like a back fist and kind of almost like landing on Jamahal Hill's face. A lot of crazy exchanges like that where at any moment you're on the edge of your seat, you're like, oh my god, is this fight really gonna end here? Come on, Jiri, don't do that. Or if you're a Jamahal Hill fan, you're like, oh my god, the embarrassment of Twitter. No, Jamahal, pull this shit out the fire, man. Second round goes to Jamahal Hill. Then we go to the third round. The third round, the magic happens. Again, great exchange to begin with. All of a sudden, Jiri Prochazka has a massive fury over Jamahal Hill. And Jamahal Hill's covering up, is backing off. And then he starts landing his own shots. And then Jamahal Hill puts Jiri Prochazka in a clinch situation. Is clinch fighting with him. Throwing strikes from the clinch towards Jiri Prochazka. Jiri Prochazka backs off. Eventually, they have one more wild exchange where Jiri Prochazka catches him with a right hand, drops Jamahal Hill. Jamahal Hill doesn't go out. Jiri Prochazka tries to follow him up. Jamahal Hill does end up getting back up onto his feet, is throwing back at Jiri. This is a wild exchange. Jiri Prochazka is throwing back at Jamahal Hill. The drama at this point is just over the tipping point. And then eventually, Jiri lands too many strikes, pushes Jamahal Hill. Jamahal Hill stumbles to the ground, covers up, and Jiri Prochazka finishes him off. A wild fight where you had no clue how it would end up going, in all honesty. I mean, I did pick Jiri Prochazka to win. I thought he was looking pretty good with his head movement and his lateral movement, which I did predict, by the way. Subscribe for amazing betting tips like that one. I did predict that. But come on. Like, how were you not more entertained every single second of that fight? I was on the edge of my screen. I was screaming my lungs out. I mean, compare that to Max versus Gaethje. I was sitting on my hands, and I had money on that fight as well. I was just sitting on my hands. I was thinking, well, nice jab. Like a fucking nerd, you know what I mean? Oh, where's the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? This is not a complete fight, actually. These guys don't have a complete game. Like a fucking nerd, like someone would probably be saying. That was me. Actually, that wasn't me. I'm just saying someone probably is saying that somewhere in this video comment section. This video will not get many comments or views. But if it does, you have been told. Now we go on to, so you might be thinking, oh my god, this fight had more wild exchanges, more exciting striking exchanges. So that's what this guy must value. Like, fights must just be on the feet, and jiu-jitsu just a hatred. No one likes jiu-jitsu, no one likes a technical jab fest. That's not true at all. I think drama in a fight is what really, like, the context and the drama of a fight is what really makes a fight great. Now, for this fight, this worked. But the next fight that I'm about to show you guys, the complete opposite. There was not a striking war whatsoever. In fact, the first 2 rounds were fairly comfortably Umar rounds, and I would actually argue that Merab looked almost amateurish compared to Umar. Umar had such few tails in all of his strikes, his question mark kicks. He was really just getting his leg up there so quickly. He has incredible dexterity. I can't believe how good his dexterity is. His flexibility is unbelievable. He was just faster with the strikes. Merab was busted open. I think he was bleeding. And this, after the first 2 rounds, me and my friend are saying, oh my god, I feel so bad for Merab. UFC's really fucked him over here. They've really screwed this guy over. They've really screwed him over. They don't want to give him an opportunity. They don't want to give him a chance or anything like that. And then in the third round comes around, and all of a sudden, Merab Gotashvili, honestly, Gotashvili over here, puts up a fight against Umar. Umar is now starting to get tired every single round. Merab is in round 1 conditioning. It's absolutely insane. It's the greatest cardio of all time, bar none. You can't debate anybody over it. It's just the most unfathomable amount of sprints, up hills, or up mountains, I guess in this case, considering they're from that part of the world, that you've ever seen. I would love to see the training footage of Merab. I'm sure it's a lot of running up mountains for 3 hours straight, non-stop, while shadow boxing, and also balancing a book on his head with a little mouse on it. I don't know. Oh, by the way, Aljamain Sterling is also backpacking the entire time. I don't know what kind of training he's doing. It's absolutely unbelievable. Did I mention the mountain is on the mountain that he's running up is Mount Everest, and it's on the highest altitude on the planet. I don't know what the hell he does, but it is the most absurd thing anyone's ever seen. But anyway, round 3 comes around. All of us, like, so far the fight is just looking like it's gonna be a one-sided Umar fight. I'm thinking, okay, so this fight won't be better than Max versus Gaethji, and I was thinking that because I'm gonna make a note of every single fight this year that's better than that jab fest from last year, which gets overrated to hell by everybody. But anyway, like I was saying, Merab versus Umar. Round 3 comes around, and all of a sudden Merab is doing pretty well on the feet. He's out-voluming him. He's doing much better than Umar is. Out-volume on the striking. All of a sudden Umar isn't all that fast and quick and out of nowhere anymore. Like, the strikes aren't as consistent anymore. They're not as out of nowhere anymore. And all of a sudden Merab is shooting. Obviously Umar is stuffing the takedowns, but so is Merab. Merab is stuffing the takedowns. The crowd is going crazy at this point, by the way. The crowd, which typically just likes striking wars, it's going crazy for a grappling exchange, and we're seeing some good grappling. Merab is very quick. He has this amazing dexterity to his legs where he can just basically touch his nose with his toe on his foot. It's crazy while extending it. It's crazy, and he was using a lot of that to his advantage, but Merab was controlling him. And then all of a sudden, towards the end of the third, after Merab has basically won it, Umar shoots one more takedown, gets his back, goes for a takedown. He's basically putting his entire body to take this guy down. This is a Nurmagomedov, keep in mind. A Nurmagomedov, we have not seen this. I think they've won like 60 plus fights with no losses before this fight. Merab is the one. He's the one in 65-1. He's the one. He ended the Nurmagomedov dynasty. Shout out to Merab Dvalishvili, the hero. He got rid of boring Sean O'Malley and he got rid of boring Umar Nurmagomedov. I'm sorry, Sean O'Malley's personality really wasn't moving the needle. He was coming out there with cringy little lines. Aljamain poop stain. I don't know why I'm going to Sean O'Malley right now, but at UFC Noche, that puto pa, puro Merab, it was just so cringe to watch. It's just like, oh my god, dude, just stay true to yourself. Be a stone cold killer like Alex Pereira, and just tell us that you like to smoke weed. That is essentially your personality when you don't try to over-exaggerate it. Anyway, like I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. My love for Merab is really showing in this video. Merab Dvalishvili is getting taken down. He's pushing against the fence. He touches the fence for like a split second, like half, maybe even less than half a second. It was very, very quick. Umar pushes him back and he pulls him again. Merab holds his balance. He pulls him a second time. Merab somehow stays up, lifts his hands up, and is asking the crowd, not asking him anything, it's just like showboating to the crowd as this is happening. And then eventually Umar gets him down and Merab is just getting back up to his feet. These guys just dominate everybody, just couldn't dominate Merab Gotashvili. The 4th round comes around, Merab does the same thing. At this point, it's quite evident. The crowd's going crazy, we're going crazy. At this point, it's quite evident. We are about to see a Nurmagomedov loser fight. Father's plan has completely failed at this point. Father's plan has no second route, has no escape route. It's a one-way plan. And Merab Dvalishvili, despite being the worst striker, honestly might be the worst jiu-jitsu guy, because I think Umar has some finishing potential. Merab doesn't really. Has worse in that aspect. Umar with the wrestling somehow is inferior to Merab's when the cardio kicks in. It's insane, just pure sheer determination and willpower. Merab wins round 4, out-volumes Umar, mixes in the takedown, stuffs the takedowns from Umar, and he's still showboating to the crowd. This man is 2-2, and at this point we know it's all coming down to this. Round 5, if Merab can pull this off, we see a Nurmagomedov lose and Father's plan just completely burn down to the ground. And I've nothing against Khabib's dad at all whatsoever. But we've seen so many times these guys just come in and just get their way, and every single time it's like, well, actually, if you look at who they've beaten, resumes matter. And it's like, nah, it doesn't matter. They could be making their debut and they're destroying people that we're like holding to high esteem. No logic was prevailing. The same style was beating everybody across multiple divisions. Then Merab steps up. Round 5 comes around. Not only does Merab beat Umar, he humiliates him. Now you can argue Umar landed more strikes, but who cares? Right? Who cares if he landed more strikes? Merab was the one putting the pressure on Umar. He was the one that was also throwing a lot of his own strikes. And towards the end of round 5, he lands a big shot to like the chest of Umar, which like stumbles him backwards. And it was by far the most significant strike of the entire fight. And that's what we get. And by the way, at one point, he literally goes for a takedown on Umar and just pushes him. With like 30 seconds left. Just pushes him down. Umar's on the ground. And Merab is literally pointing at him and laughing. Just humiliating him. Doing to them what they've been doing to everybody else. The Nurmagomedov lineage, that is. The Nurmagomedov lineage has been doing this to everybody. And Merab is like, no. I'll step up. I'll save the division. I'll give you guys a few more years before Umar takes over and just completely kills this shit dead. That's what Merab was saying. And also, by the way, at some points, Umar was going for like head kicks, and he would miss wildly, and Umar would do the just looking around. Where is it? Where is it? He was showboating the entire time, making Umar look like a fool. And the crowd, if you watch this fight live, or if you watch this fight on repeat, listen to the crowd. The crowd was going absolutely insane because they knew who Umar was. They knew who Merab was. They knew what the betting odds were. They knew the style that Umar brings. They saw Merab lose the first 2 rounds, and just through sheer willpower and just putting on the most incredibly insane pace you've ever seen, he overcomes it. One of the most dramatic fights you will ever see, or you will see this year at least. But also you will ever see. That is one of the fights of all time. I mean, maybe not like top 10 or anything crazy like that, but it is one of the all-time great fights. Like, it's still a 10 out of 10 fights, even if it's not top 10, right? Insane. The drama was crazy. The excitement was nuts. And I guess just because I just couldn't believe it. I just never thought I would see the day that a Nurmagomedov is made to look like an absolute fool and pants in front of the world stage. Incredible. And that is why these 2 fights are better than Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethji, because listen, the drama is just to a different level, and that's what makes the fight great. What makes the fight great is the dramaticness of the fight, the drama that it brings. It's not about how many strikes you land, it's not about how many cuts you got on your face, it's not about how many takedowns you shoot, it's not about how many takedowns you stuff. It's none of that stuff. It's the drama of a fight where you don't know who's gonna win sometimes, and at other times are borderline unsure. And how that fight plays out and the people that are involved in it. Like, that's what really makes a great fight. The crowd, the drama. That's what goes into it. Anyway, that's the entire video. Like, share, and subscribe. I hope I don't get too much hate for like some random Justin Gaethje or Max Holloway fans. Or actually, even Umar fans are going to hate this. But screw all of them. Like and subscribe. I've got 201 subscribers. I really would like to get to 250 subscribers. If you guys could hit the subscribe button, please. And like the video, drop a comment, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.